The most advanced car in television history sat silent on a remote dock as its owner studied satellite images that would lead to the most important rescue mission of his career. What was David Hasselhoff doing, tracking a kidnapped child to a dangerous private island off the California coast? Why had local police given up on a case that Hollywood's biggest TV star refused to abandon? How did a routine charity appearance turn into a life-or-death rescue operation that would prove Kit's most secret capabilities were more real than anyone imagined? This is the story of when television fantasy became child-saving reality, and what happened when a father's desperation met a hero's determination. It started 4 days earlier when David arrived at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles for what should have been a simple charity visit. At 35, the Knight Rider star was at the peak of his television fame, but success had never dulled his genuine compassion for children facing impossible challenges. Mr. Hasselhoff, Dr. Sarah Martinez approached him in the hospital corridor. "There's someone I'd like you to meet. A father who's been here every day for a week, hoping against hope for news about his missing daughter." David followed Dr. Martinez to the family waiting room, where he found Thomas Chen sitting alone, staring at a missing person flyer with a photo of a smiling 8-year-old girl named Emma. "Mr. Chen," Dr. Martinez said gently, "this is David Hasselhoff. I thought maybe—" Thomas looked up with eyes that had seen too much pain and too little hope. "My daughter Emma has been missing for 6 days. The police say they've done everything they can, but I know she's still alive. I can feel it." David sat down beside Thomas, noting the desperate determination in the father's voice. "Tell me what happened." Emma was walking home from her piano lesson Tuesday afternoon. Security cameras caught her getting into a white van 3 blocks from our house. The license plate was fake, the van was stolen, and the trail went completely cold. Thomas pulled out a thick folder filled with police reports, witness statements, and his own investigation notes. "The police think whoever took Emma is long gone, probably in another state by now. But I hired a private detective, and we found something they missed." David examined the materials Thomas had assembled, impressed by the father's methodical approach to finding his daughter. The stolen van was found abandoned near Marina del Rey. But here's what's interesting. Harbor security cameras caught a speedboat leaving the marina 40 minutes after the van was ditched. The boat headed southwest toward the Channel Islands. Thomas spread out nautical charts and satellite images across the coffee table. "There's a private island about 30 miles off the coast. Officially, it's owned by a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. Unofficially, my detective thinks it's being used by people who don't want their activities monitored by law enforcement." David studied the satellite photos, noting the island's isolated location and sophisticated security features. "What do the police say about this lead?" "They say it's speculation without evidence. They won't get a warrant to search the island based on a security camera video of an unidentified boat. They want concrete proof before they'll act." Thomas's voice cracked with frustration and desperation. "By the time they get concrete proof, Emma could be— I can't just sit here waiting for bureaucracy to save my daughter." David felt something familiar stirring in his chest, the same protective instinct that made Michael Knight risk everything to help innocent people in trouble. "Mr. Chen, what are you asking me to do? I know this sounds crazy, but you have resources the police don't have. That car of yours— I've seen the show. I know it can do things that seem impossible. If there's any chance Emma is on that island, you might be the only person who can reach her in time." David looked at the satellite images again, calculating distances, security challenges, and the capabilities Kit would need to execute a successful rescue mission. The island is 30 miles offshore, surrounded by rough seas, probably guarded by armed security, and we don't even know for certain Emma is there. I know it's a long shot, but you're the only person I can think of who might actually be able to help." 2 hours later, David was driving Kit toward Marina del Rey, his mind racing through the tactical challenges of what they were attempting. "Kit, run a complete analysis of Catalina Island's security systems and approach routes," David said, speaking to the car as he'd done thousands of times during filming. Unlike the scripted responses from television, Kit's real AI system immediately began processing satellite imagery, maritime traffic patterns, and security vulnerabilities. "David, I'm detecting multiple guard posts, patrol boats, and electronic surveillance systems. This facility is designed to prevent exactly the kind of infiltration we're planning. What about water approach?" "The island's north shore has a small cove that's not visible from the main facility. If we approach during the new moon phase tonight, we could reach shore undetected." David parked at Marina del Rey and activated Kit's most secret capability, one that television audiences had never seen because it was too advanced to reveal publicly. "Kit, initiate maritime conversion protocol." The Transarm's body panels began shifting and resealing as specialized systems engaged. Within 10 minutes, Kit had transformed into a sleek watercraft capable of high-speed ocean travel while maintaining all land-based capabilities. "Maritime conversion complete. David, we're ready for ocean operation." As Kit entered the water, David felt the familiar mixture of excitement and responsibility that came with using the car's genuine capabilities for real-world rescue operations. The 30-mile journey to the island took 45 minutes through moderate seas. Kit's sonar systems guided them through the darkness while infrared cameras scanned for patrol boats and other security threats. "David, I'm picking up radio chatter from the island, multiple guards, at least 6 adults, and what sounds like children's voices." David's heart raced at the possibility that Emma and potentially other missing children were being held on the island. "Can you identify Emma's voice?" "Negative, but I'm detecting elevated stress patterns in the children's vocal signatures. They're frightened." Kit's watercraft mode allowed them to approach the hidden cove silently, using electric propulsion to avoid detection by acoustic sensors. "David, thermal imaging shows a main building with approximately 12 heat signatures, plus several guards patrolling the perimeter. Can you differentiate between adults and children?" "Affirmative. 8 adult signatures, showing normal movement patterns consistent with security patrol. 4 smaller signatures in the main building showing restricted movement patterns." David felt anger building as he realized they'd found not just Emma, but potentially 3 other kidnapped children. "Kit, we need to create a diversion that draws the guards away from the main building while we extract the children. I can generate multiple false heat signatures around the island's perimeter, making it appear that law enforcement teams are approaching from several directions simultaneously." As Kit transitioned back to land mode on the island's beach, David prepared for what would be the most dangerous mission of his television career, except this time, the stakes were real children's lives. "Initiate diversion protocol, Kit. Give me 15 minutes to reach the main building." Kit's advanced systems began projecting false thermal signatures around the island, while broadcasting realistic radio chatter that would convince guards they were facing a coordinated law enforcement assault. David moved through the island's vegetation, using skills he'd learned from military consultants during Knight Rider's production. The show's technical advisors had insisted on realistic training for exactly this kind of situation. Within minutes, he could hear guards shouting commands and running toward the perimeter to respond to Kit's simulated assault. The main building was a large windowless structure that looked more like a warehouse than a residence. David found an unlocked service entrance and slipped inside. "Hello?" he called softly. "Emma? Emma Chen, help us," came a frightened voice from deeper in the building. "Please help us." David followed the voice to a locked room, where he found 4 children, ages 6 to 10, including Emma Chen. They were scared but appeared physically unharmed. "Emma, I'm David Hasselhoff. Your father sent me to bring you home." Emma's face lit up with hope and relief. "My daddy sent you. Is he okay?" "Your daddy is fine, and he's waiting for you. But we need to leave right now." David quickly assessed the other 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, who'd clearly been missing for varying lengths of time. "We're all going home tonight. Stay close to me, and do exactly what I tell you." As David led the children toward the exit, Kit's voice crackled through his earpiece. "David, the diversion is working, but I've detected a boat approaching from the mainland. Reinforcements arriving in approximately 10 minutes. Can you intercept?" "Negative. Maritime patrol boat with armed personnel. We need to extract immediately." David and the 4 children reached the beach where Kit was waiting in amphibious mode, ready for immediate departure. "Everyone get in quickly," David instructed as he helped the children into Kit's expanded passenger area. As they prepared to leave the island, David heard shouts from the facility as guards discovered the children's absence. "Kit, maximum speed back to the mainland, and get me a direct line to the Coast Guard and FBI." The return journey took 35 minutes through increasingly rough seas, with Kit's stabilization systems keeping the children comfortable despite the challenging conditions. "David, I've established contact with federal authorities. Coast Guard cutters are en route to intercept the island facility." When they reached Marina del Rey, Thomas Chen was waiting on the dock along with FBI agents, paramedics and social workers prepared to help all 4 rescued children. Emma ran into her father's arms as news crews captured the reunion that would become international headlines. "How did you find her?" Thomas asked through tears of relief and gratitude. "Sometimes the longest shots are worth taking when a child's life is at stake," David replied, watching paramedics examine Emma and confirm she was healthy and unharmed. FBI Special Agent Patricia Rodriguez approached David as the rescued children were reunited with their families. "Mr. Hasselhoff, what you did tonight was either incredibly brave or incredibly reckless. Probably both." "Agent Rodriguez, are you going to arrest me for rescuing kidnapped children?" "Actually, I'm going to thank you. We've been investigating that island facility for months without sufficient evidence for a search warrant. Your rescue operation provided the probable cause we needed." "What did you find when you raided the island?" "Evidence of an international child trafficking operation involving dozens of victims over several years. The people you helped us arrest tonight are connected to a network we've been trying to dismantle for a long time." 3 months later, Thomas Chen visited the Night Rider set to thank David personally for saving his daughter and 3 other children. "Emma's doing great," he reported. "She's back in school, back to piano lessons, and she talks about you like you're a real superhero. I'm just glad we found her in time." "Mr. Hasselhoff, can I ask you something? How much of what we see on television is real? I mean, that night on the island, your car did things that seemed impossible." David smiled, thinking about the balance between entertainment and reality that defined his career. "Let's just say that sometimes the line between television and real life is thinner than people imagine, and sometimes when children need help, that's exactly what makes the difference." The island rescue became legendary within law enforcement circles, though most details were never made public to protect the children's privacy and ongoing investigations. Years later, when people asked David Hasselhoff about his proudest moment from the Knight Rider era, he never mentioned ratings, awards or fan recognition.
He always talked about a night when television fantasy became life-saving reality, and when Kit's most secret capabilities proved that some heroes, both human and automotive, were more real than anyone could have imagined. The 4 children rescued from the island grew up safely with their families, carrying with them the memory of the television star who'd risked everything to bring them home. For David, the rescue proved something important about the responsibility that came with playing a hero on television. Sometimes the most meaningful episodes were the ones that happened when the cameras weren't rolling, and the most important stunts were the ones performed to save real lives rather than entertain audiences. Sometimes being a hero wasn't about special effects or television ratings. Sometimes it was about refusing to abandon hope when everyone else had given up, and having access to technology advanced enough to turn impossible rescues into legendary success stories. The night David Hasselhoff and Kit saved 4 kidnapped children proved that heroes, both human and automotive, were defined not by the scripts they followed, but by the lives they chose to save when it mattered most.